Hi everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Unleashed. It's a new program that our Brentwood youth are starting. It's basically just us answering youth questions that have been given to us by other youth, and we're just trying to help out and just like do our part. So feel free to tag along on this journey as it's a weekly episode. Every Saturday we're going to be releasing this around I'd say like 2 to 3 every afternoon. So feel free to join us. This week's episode is going to be about how to stay motivated for God. Because I know it's a struggle for some youth, especially for me as well. Just in our daily lives that we live in our Christian walk, we kind of sometimes we backslide and we get unmotivated. And this week's episode is just going to be talking about and breaking down ways to stay motivated. Okay, who wants to open up with a word of prayer? Cool. I'll open up this week. And then we'll get right into it. So if you all just bow your heads and close your eyes with me as I lead us in a word of prayer. Dear Lord, I just want to thank you for tonight. Thank you for this platform, Lord, where we're all able to come together and discuss these questions that have been presented to us by curious youth, Lord. I just pray that you give us the wisdom and knowledge to be able to spread some wisdom and to be able to help out and answer these questions in a way that they're helpful, Lord. Just bless us all tonight and pour out your Holy Spirit as well, Lord. And we ask all these things in your wonderful and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Cool. So starting off, does anyone so basically tonight is just going to be a discussion until we like work out like the kinks of this whole program. So does anyone have like, I think we'll start off with maybe just like discussing ways that like make us unmotivated, if that makes sense. If anyone has anything on that. So I'll start us off. I think that like this question is quite like heavy. Like, well, for me anyways. I'm not sure about you guys, but me for sure. And I think there are many like reasons why we get unmotivated. It can like range from like a lot of things. It can range from like laziness. And I've been a culprit of this like 100%. And there can also be like range to like go to like a fear of not knowing what to do or like feeling inadequate and like not being able to do enough for the Lord, or like you're not quite suited for like a certain area. And I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I think a lot of youth go through that. So it's like, is there anything that you guys have like any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I know for all of us, I think it's hard to keep motivated, not only about God, but with everything. Let's say tomorrow I say, I'll start doing exercise, right? Then I'll start first day, second day, that's good. But the Thursday, no, I'm a little bit tired, maybe tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks by and we just did the first 2 days. So I think, yeah, this is a really tricky question because all of us go through the same, and it's really nice. Like I was reading 45% of people, they drop the New Year's resolution after the first month. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think that's like, it kind of has to do with like not having, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like structure, but it's like not having commitment. That's the one. I think commitment is like a big thing as well. Like, I think like a lot of us have problems with commitment. Like sometimes like sticking to something can be like quite hard, especially if you don't see progress or if you don't see like results. I think that's another like thing that can like put us off.
Just to add on that, when you talk about progress and results, seeing results, I think being demotivated for God, if your prayers are not answered in your time, and I'm not, we are told it's got to be in God's time, but half the time you want it to be in your time, and if it's not in your time, then you're like, okay, this guy's not coming through for me, so why should I put in the effort when, in actual fact, things take time, and we all know that a response from God isn't just going to come overnight. Sometimes it does, sometimes it takes time.
True. I think that's like a very good point too. It's like, I think sometimes when we don't have, or like we don't see like the immediate prayer like answered, or like the immediate result of something answered, it kind of puts us off. But it's like I have a motivational part for that. It's from, so we have like a weekly thing called basic training. It's like part of this Bible study program that like helps us become disciples. Basically, it's a program that our church is running at the moment. And in the previous week's study, it was talking about like prayer. I'm just trying to find it. But basically what it was talking about was like when we pray, we just have to learn to like, it's basically like a skill that we have to learn, and where we like, even though we don't see things being answered right away, like we just keep asking God.
I think it's important also to not forget when you're talking about all of these things and like staying motivated for God. I think it's important not to forget what is your relationship with God, because if you have a good relationship, you'll understand. I mean, I'm not here trying to say I've got the greatest of relationships with God, but at the same time, it's like if you are going through, you know, a difficult time in trying to remain motivated for God, but if you look back in the past on all that He's done for you, and you see that the relationship has been there, the relationship is established. This is just a phase, but you can always sort of bounce back. I always think that's helpful to sort of look back on your past, see the things that took time to be answered in prayer or took time to get to a certain point. And when you do that, especially for me, when I do that, then I come back to align myself with why we are here in the first reason. It's not the end of the world if a prayer hasn't been answered, because another thing is coming. So understand your relationship with God before you can even answer any question. Because how many times do you see so many people going through the hardest of things, and yet you'll still see them waking up, bouncing back, and they're just living their lives and continuing because they rely solely on God. So
yeah,
I think it's like,
I would like to add something there, because it's really nice how you understand this topic. When I was thinking about how to stay motivated for God, I was thinking about the part when you work, like you do things to keep growing spiritually, right? And keep working for God. And for me, what TAPS was really important is the relationship you have with God. And also think about the relationship Jesus had with the Father. And I have a verse here that I would like to read, and it's from John 6:38, and reads, "For I have come down from heaven not to do my will, but to do the will of Him who sent me." And I was thinking about that, right? That Jesus came to do the will of the Father. And sometimes we just come here to do our will, right? We just want to do what we want, and that's it. And we were born with a purpose. That's something that we should have in mind. Sometimes when we feel discouraged, we need to find the purpose, and we need to keep growing in that relationship with Jesus. Actually, when Tab was saying that, I was thinking like, yeah, also you have that in relationships, you know? Like you don't feel motivated all the time, or sometimes you feel like, you know, you need to give that extra mile in relationships. And it's the same with God, because Jesus gave that extra mile with us, for us. So I think that's also really important, that we should be committed and work in that, because that's also something that we don't live with. I think we should work that a lot.
I think
was going to
like,
say like
sorry.
another another thing that I see with people is that when you commit the same sin over and over again, that can be a very demotivating factor when you see that you're trying to overcome, let's say, smoking or masturbation, whatever it can be. And you keep on putting the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's like, I think that's a big thing that a lot of people tend to suffer with, that tend to demotivate a lot of people. So it's about how can we deal with those kind of things, you know, on a spiritual level? Because I think a lot of people, you know, you find someone struggling, say, the guy was doing studies with before, he was struggling with smoking, and, you know, would try to motivate him, and he was always just going back to the same thing over and over again. And I've seen some people leaving the church because they're like, yo, dude, I can't overcome sin. So how do I deal with this thing? So I think, like, if we can maybe just touch on those things as well, that can be a bit relevant as well to people out there as well. So how do we stay motivated when we struggle with certain sins in our lives, which can be personal to people, really?
I think they're like. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go?
When I think of that, I always think of just from what Taco said. How do you overcome when you're still going through, sins, or you're battling with sins? No one was ever perfect, right? And my favorite story in the Bible is Paul, persecutor of the Christians. Biggest, when he was on that road to Damascus, even God, God said to him, "Why do you persecute me?" All those things that he had done, but still he was used as a vessel to carry the word and take it all the way to Rome. And he didn't have that fear or that thought. He would go through, when you're speaking in the churches, he'll go through that and always highlight that myself as a sinner, but I'm standing in front of you. I used to do all these things, but today, look, here I am. So you can still you're struggling with that sin, true. But it doesn't mean you have to close off your heart and close off your mind to the opportunity that could come if you want to connect with God and if you want to have a relationship with Him. At least that's how I view it.
Yeah. I think another way too that just bouncing off what you both of you guys just said, that in a way that we can stay motivated, especially with the story of Paul. And it's not just Paul as well. There's so many other people in the Bible that God has used. He's used broken people before. It's the people he's used have never been perfect. Everyone's always had their downfalls and their shortcomings.
Like all of us.
Yeah, for sure. Like all of us, yeah, for sure. Because I think that another way of motivation is who we surround ourselves with. Most of the disciples knew she had a helper. A lot of the prophets knew she had a helper. And I think it's just very important in who we surround ourselves with that can help us overcome sin. So whether it's masturbation or smoking or drinking or partying, it's kind of if you keep hanging around the same people that influence you to do those kind of things, I think that it's kind of self-harming in a way. It's we kind of need to surround yourself with people that are willing to help you become better. Because it's I have a verse here from Ecclesiastes 4.
I have the same verse.
It's verse 9, 10, and 12. And I'll just read it out. It says, verse 9, 2 are better than one, because they have a good reward in their labor. Verse 10, for if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. In verse 12, though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So if from these verses, it's just I feel we are stronger in number. So when you start together with friends who have the same kind of mindset, and the same goals in life, I get in a way in your Christian walk anyways, it just helps us because we're all susceptible to sin, temptations, distractions. It's kind of it just helps to have people surrounding you who support you get through those kind of things. Because for me as well, I've my past life isn't that great. But it's when I started surrounding myself with some good people, they kind of, even though I backslid sometimes, they'd always pull me up and encourage me, and it's just really nice to have that kind of support. So yeah, I think that's another way to motivate yourself. If you're not feeling motivated to God, surround yourself with people who are motivated, and it kind of just rubs off.
That's a good advice. And I think also God used them to guide us,
for sure.
Mean, if you let yourself be used by God, you can also be a good influence to others.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons we have the church today, right? Because that's the place where we can find people that we can learn from, but also we can influence and support each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember in 2016, I started to do a half marathon. So I was running 13 miles, and it was crazy because I did like zero training before the running. So on the day, I was just there, like I'm seeing these guys doing their stretches. These guys are looking very fit and like amazing. And there I am. I'm like, how do I even how do I warm up and stuff like that? And they had like this place where you go there, you get like these massages before you run. So you just get your muscles relaxed so you can enjoy the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Then I met this guy when we were doing the massages, and basically me and him became running partners. So we started the starting line together. And I guarantee you, no one would fly, right? If I was running by myself, I wouldn't have lasted a mile, literally. But I ran non-stop, like 12 miles.
Wow.
Literally.
Wow.
And the thing is for me is like, I think the point you mentioned before, like, when you've got someone to motivate you on the side as well, it really make a difference, because if that guy wasn't there, I mean, I would have called a taxi to drive to the finishing line and just, come up like around the corner, just run the last mile. But I think that key part is really important, because network that you have, it makes a big difference, a very big difference. And going back to what
sorry, go ahead.
Touch mentioned before, like I think in the book of Proverbs it talks about how a just man falls 7 times, but the thing is he gets up again.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're all going to sin. Maybe we've sinned today. Maybe we're sinning even right now. I don't know. But the key point is getting up again. You see what I'm saying? That is what sets you apart. So that no matter what you're struggling with, whether it can be maybe lying, gossiping, masturbate, I don't know what it can possibly be. It can be anything. But the key thing is this: get up again. You go to the book of 1 John 1 verse 9. If we sin, what do we have? An advocate. You know what I'm saying? If we confess, what does it do? He forgives us. So if you fall in what you're struggling with now, go to God for forgiveness. He will forgive you, and then try again. It's like now, my daughter is 7 months, and she started crawling maybe like 3-4 weeks ago, but now she's trying to stand up. She falls like 10,000 times a day, but she gets up again. So I think it's that thing of just not giving up, just keep on trying, because you will eventually get to a point where you want to be by persistence in your Christian walk as well.
And to add to that, I don't think for anyone watching today, we're not sitting here. Well, I'm not sitting here advocating that whatever I've said, it's easily implemented into life. It's not.
Oh yeah. No,
okay.
Sure.
It's hard, and like Takuya said, you're gonna fall countless times. But if you try and keep trying, eventually you'll get there. And even when your walk and your attempt to build that relationship and seek that motivation for God, you can't give up at the first hurdle. How many athletes literally jump over one hurdle, fall over, and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to finish the rest of the race. Keep going. Don't give up. And like I said, it is easier said than done. But we've always said, you've got the support. If you align yourself with people around you, it'll be okay. So, yeah, that's my...
I think it's really nice what Tabs was saying, just to add this little thing, and is that God didn't give up for us. He was always there, loving us and forgiving us. So why we should stop here? And because it's good to go back to our question, is how to feel motivated when we don't want to feel motivated. So just think about that, the sacrifice God did with his son, and that we have to remember every day.
Yeah, I think it's okay to understand that we are humans and we have ups and downs. And even Jesus, when he was here in earth, he prayed once, he said, Father, why have you forsaken me? And if Jesus was able to come to his Father and say, hey, I'm feeling not really good with you, right? We should do the same, right?
Yeah, there's a song by Dr. Neil Nedley. He told me it goes like, feelings comes, feelings go, feelings are deceiving, so trust alone in the word of God is something worth believing. It's the point that, feelings that will come, but the thing is they will go. And I think the main point that you mentioned before is that, you know, Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, he felt like, yo, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I want to back out. Those are feelings, but he stuck true to his what? To his mission. So I think the same thing with us as well as Christians, that, you know, we do get to points where we don't feel like, you know, praying in the morning or having a devotion in the morning or even going to church. You know, sometimes you feel like when you're struggling with something, you feel like, yo, I don't want to fight it. I just want to go with the flow. But the thing is that feelings come and they will go. So just stay, you know, focused on what you're trying to get to.
I think that's like a very like important point that you guys, I like, and I feel like it's been brought up quite a bit. It's like where, oh, and my mind just went blank. Hold on. Damn, I actually had it. Hold on. And it was like exactly tied into like what you guys were saying as well. Okay, sorry, I've lost it. If it comes back to me, we'll jump back into it. But yeah, but I think that like with everything that's like going on, I think that like I have two verses here that I think are very encouraging. Especially to like the point that Taku and Taps was saying, that like when we fall down, it's kind of funny because Taku, what you said about like, is that an actual like Bible verse where like they fall down 7 times and get back up 8 or something?
Yeah,
Oh
it is.
wow,
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
Because my principal back at like my high school, like every assembly, like that's all, like this is the one saying that should always say. It was like, if you fall down 7 times, you get back up 8. And that's just like, that's stuck in my, I didn't even know that was a Bible verse.
Yeah, Proverbs 24:16.
Oh, mean. All right, I'm gonna have to look that up after this. But yeah, I have a verse here. Just like some encouragement. It's from Philippians 4:13. And it's, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I think that's like a very powerful verse. And it's like one of those verses where it's like a promise, and the Bible is like full of promises. And I think that like, if you're really down and like you're not feeling motivated and like you just need that like little bit of boost, that like a little bit of energy, or that pre-workout, I think that like diving into the Bible and just like finding a couple of those verses is like, it really does help. And just learning to like lean on God. I think that's like, yeah, it's like one of those ones that like much easier to say than to do. Like even for me too, man, I struggle with this all the time. And I'm not like trying to preach. I'm just like, just giving an insight like from youth, I guess, like, and from the rest of us as well. I think we all feel the same. But just another promise, bouncing back to the surrounding ourselves with like positive type people, is from Hebrews 10 verse 24 and 25. And it reads, and let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together as the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as we see the day approaching. And I think that just like spreading love and just keeping that positive energy and just helping your like brothers and sisters back up when we all fall and like slide back and backslide, I think that's like a very important part in helping to stay motivated. It's like the butterfly effect, like one little thing here could affect so much more somewhere else. So it's just like, always keep that in mind and just try to, like, if you see people that are like down and out, always try to do your best and just like reach out. It doesn't hurt. It's only like a couple of seconds, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna add one more verse actually. One that really encouraged me. Like,
I also have another verse to add.
When you think about the thing is like, you know, the formula that Jesus Christ used is amazing. You know, the book of Hebrews chapter 12, it talks about, it says that verse 2 says that looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross. So Christ, when he was in Gethsemane on the cross, he was looking at the joy that was set before him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the thing is, we have to think about, okay, what do you have to gain? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what you have to gain is greater than the suffering you're suffering today. Do you get what I'm saying?
Facts.
The same principle that Christ used, we can basically use for our advantage now, because if you're trying to maybe get healthy, you know, think about it. If you eat healthy, you know, you're less prone to diseases, and all those other things. You'll prolong your life. You spend more time with your family, your friends, and all those things. So try to think of a motivating factor that you have in front of you, and that will motivate you to go through what you're going through as well.
Yeah, hopefully. I would like to add just another verse that I think it's appropriate for this topic. and it's Isaiah 40, 29 to 31, and reads, He gives power to the faint, and to him who has not might he increases strength. Even youth shall not faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted, but they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount on wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. I think that's an amazing promise of God. And I like that it mentions the youth, right? That it's our audience today. So I think that was appropriate to bring that to us now. And also, I think for the people that is going to watch this, that we are also going to be praying for the people that is going to see this, and if they also have any request of prayer, that they can also share with us here in the comments.
Yeah, leave them below, guys. Like, facts. Just quick chipping in. Any prayer requests or any like advice or any questions that you guys have, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Or feel free to DM us individually, or we have a Brentwood youth page, so feel free to jump on that as well. But yeah, I was just a quick point, just as we're starting to round up, to what Taku was saying before. I think they're like knowing our purpose, and then also knowing the reward at the end is like extremely motivating. Because we've been put on this earth, like, and it's our mission as Christians, and as sons and daughters of God, to be the salt and light to the world. And in doing so, our reward is eternal life. So I think like once you start to weigh like the reward and the like pain and like pressure that we all have to go through, and then you weigh it with like what we're going through. Okay, that kind of didn't make sense, but like you basically weigh the reward and like what we're going through now. The reward greatly outweighs everything.
I was gonna say like just like what you're saying, like just having a greater goal in front of you. I remember when I was saving up for the bridal price for my wife, the dowry that we do as in the Zimbabwean culture. Like I remember I was working 2 jobs at the same time, and it was hard. Sometimes because I'm a building surveyor by trade, so I was working during the day, and then at night I'll go to another job in the night, and it was very discouraging. But because of the joy that was set before me, I was able to endure through that process. And the thing is, like, you'd really think, like, okay, dude, should I go through with this? Is she really worth it? But the thing is, you're like, yo, relax, go back. She's worth it. And you go through the process. And when the day comes, like, you don't know how much you're going to get charged. You're in the blind. So for all you know, you can be sent back home, packing, like, yo, this money is rubbish. Go back where you came from. But the thing is, like, I was like, yo, I went there with the stress that was in my mind. I was like, yo, she's worth whatever it's going to be. So I think as long as you have a motivating factor on what you're doing, it makes it easier to go through the process.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to point out something, and we have a God that is a God of opportunities. And maybe we feel demotivated because we fall one and then again. But we must remember that God is always forgiving us and giving us new chances. I have a Bible verse which reads, forget what happened long ago. Don't think about the past. I'm creating something new. That's Isaiah 43:19, and I think it's an amazing verse because, all of us, we fall and we just feel like maybe we are not worth it, or that, God is not gonna listen to us because what we did. But every day is a new chance for us, and God is always willing to listen to us. God is always willing to forgive us, and that's just an amazing thought that makes me just
happy like this.
But yeah, I think that's covered quite a lot tonight.
Sorry, I've just been on mute. Classic.
It's all good.
From what Aleo said, I just think of usually what my dad says in Shona, but I'll translate it in English. He says, don't try and think for God. Let God do the thinking for you. So even in your motivation and how you feel like you're demotivated, don't try and think for God. Submit your prayers, pray according to his will. But when you pray according to his will, don't let it be that you are now suggesting for God to do this and to do that, because essentially, what's the point of then saying it must be according to his will? So let God do the controlling, let him do the thinking for you. And yeah, that'll be my final point, I reckon.
Have you guys thought about Job? Like, in a sense, like how he was literally suffering. He had no idea why he's suffering with what he's suffering. I think the point that you mentioned before, like, maybe God is actually testing you for something and you don't even know it.
That's it.
Yeah. For real. There's like my closing remark will be from...
I'd like to add something before that. Can I say that?
Go ahead. It's fine. I need to gather my thoughts anyway.
That's why you're thinking, mate. That's why you're thinking.
Maybe we don't find what to do for God, and that's why we find ourselves demotivated, right? Because maybe we are not good at preaching and we don't know what else to do for God, right? But in the Bible, we can find something that it says, whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. So even the small tasks, working, studying, or anything we do, if we do it for God, we're going to feel motivated and we're going to feel that we're doing something that is greater.
That's great, yeah. All right, I think that's us for tonight. I think that's us for tonight. Thanks, guys, for joining me on the call. Thank you for everyone that's been watching. We hope you guys, somehow it's helped. This is just us just talking and discussing about the questions that you guys have been sending in. Hopefully it's been helpful. It's been a blast for me. I've enjoyed it quite a lot. But yeah, stay home, stay blessed, and stay safe, everyone. We'll see you in next week's episode.